Eason, 4 Warden of the first tree, 4 Sylvan Advocate, 4 Anafenza, 4 Siege Rhino, 3 Wingmate Rock. You have to think that card is one of the more important parts of the matchup.
Yep, flying bodies are really what people are saying that you need to do to beat a deck like Rally the Ancestors. A lot of people playing Mantis Rider. Wingmate Rock does the job just fine.
So Owen, winning the die roll, will be on the play. Starts off just on a fetch land. Now, pressure's on Eason to have a fast start. Looks like he may have that turn 1 Warden of the first tree.
That's exactly what he wants. Card's a big mana investment when you're building towards the quote-unquote ultimate ability on it, which is a little weak to Reflector Mage, so there's no getting around it in a deck with this many creatures.
So talking with Rally players pre-Reflector Mage, it was often said that a turn 1 Warden, turn 2 Pump, turn 3 Anafenza, turn 4 Rhino was too fast for 4-color Rally to deal with. Now, how Reflector Mage changes the math on this, I'd have to think.
Absolutely. It not just changes the math in picking off whatever creature you want for a tempo swing, but also just more ways to deal with Anafenza and stop it from exiling your creatures is very important.
You go back to Turtenwald. He does have good mana and creatures here, but may not actually have a Reflector Mage. We see Nantuko Husk, Sidisi's Faithful, Rally the Ancestors, and Catacomb Sifter in hand.
Yep, Sidisi's Faithful is not quite Reflector Mage, though if the hand lines up reasonably, it is a way to deal with Anafenza.
So Warden swings for 1. Anthony does not pump, though. He does have Sylvan Advocate this turn, and that's going to serve him pretty well, especially against the kind of bounce that Owen's deck brings.
Yep, having a 2-drop is usually a better use of your turn 2 than activating Warden of the first tree, especially when you are pretty sure that Owen's just playing Rally and you don't want to get blown out by Reflector Mage.
So for Owen, he'll double fetch on turn 3. It looks like we're going to see probably Catacomb Sifter this turn.
I would imagine so.
His mana set up very nicely. He has 1 of every color, double basics. And it will be the Eldrazi Drone. He'll bring a Scion along with it. But look at Eason's hand. If he has the mana, this hand is a great draw. He's got Shambling Vent. That's going to be a bit of a hiccup. But he has Anafenza Rhino, Dromoka's Command. A lot of tools here.
Yeah, some good options. For Eason, his role in this matchup is to close the game out as quickly as possible. The tap land is a significant speed bump here, but the hand is very good.
Yeah, I mean, ideally he'd have that untapped black source and just jam an Anafenza.
Right.
Some awkwardness in the hand. He had the last 2 cards are Tassiger and Den Protector. They both, I don't know if he'll have time for those at a relevant point here.
Yeah, right now his attacks aren't particularly inviting. The Sifter and the Scion can jump in front of a creature. Eason does have a Dromoka's Command to possibly blow that situation wide open.
Dromoka's Command, a 1/1 counter on Sylvan Advocate, and he'll fight the Catacomb Sifter, and now the 3/4 Advocate will swing in.
Yeah, and with the mana hiccups and the fact that Dromoka's Command just gets much worse against Rally the longer the game goes, I do like aggressively casting it here.
He has Owen down to 13, so you talked about his need to be aggressive, and that seems great here. But a huge draw for Owen. He picks up Collected Company for the turn.
Yep, that's fantastic. It looks like his 4th land is Evolving Wilds, but the Scion will enable him to cast that this turn.
So here's Evolving Wilds. Owen's going to crack Evolving Wilds before accompanying to get the land out of his deck. He's already decided the land he wants.
Yep, when you're looking at as many as 6 cards, fetching a land out of your deck actually has a relatively significant impact on your percentages. Certainly the longer the game goes.
It doesn't change the numbers too much, but it's just free here.
Right. There's no reason not to. You're going to be fetching.
And he'll pass the turn. Wingmate Rock, the pickup for Eason. It's a great card in the matchup, but no 4th land just yet. We'll see if Eason wants to. He's eyeing that Anafenza. See if he wants to play it before attacks. He's got to know company's coming, right?
Yeah.
But how to play around it?
Yeah, you know, you don't know what's going to come off of the company. If you just attack with Warden with the ability to pump it, then you can run into most things out of Owen's deck, though Reflector Mage is just going to return your creatures to your hand if that's what's hit. It's a tough spot. I like attacking before casting Anafenza just so it doesn't get hit by the Reflector Mage on this turn. But that does turn off attacking with the Warden.
Sylvan Advocate will swing. Anthony's made a decision. Wonder whether Owen blocks before accompanying or just companies first. It looks like he'll company before blocking.
All right, Modern Classic competitors.
Big 6 here for Owen, and I think he missed here. It's just Nantuko Husk. Oh, that's a back-breaking collected company for Owen.
Yeah, and he still doesn't even have access to a Reflector Mage in hand, so this Anafenza is going to be huge for Eason.
Yeah, so now here's Anafenza post-combat, and that's a game changer. Owen now very behind on the board. He draws basic island, but he needs help.
And he has to Rally the Ancestors in hand, but just the Sifter in the graveyard.
So he has a Sidisi's Faithful in hand that can give him a 1-turn reprieve from Anafenza.
Yeah, you could be able to return it to hand, but Eason would just play it on the following turn, and the Faithful will be exiled.
Here is another Sifter for Owen.
To start.
Well, this means Husk could become a 6/6.
Yeah, it gives him a creature that can jump in front of Anafenza, so it does halt Eason's attack somewhat.
Eason finally hitting that 4th land. It is a Windswept Heath, so it'll be untapped. You see him shifting those bigger cards to the front of his hand, both Wingmate Rock and Siege Rhino in the waiting.
Yep, thinking about Murderous Cut he has in hand, though that seems rather aggressive. Owen is at 10, so just starting to cast Siege Rhino. Quite powerful.
So when we look at the blocking scheme here for Owen, there's a lot of damage on Anthony's side of the board, and Owen's late game is Rally, but he's going to have to put it past Anafenza. It's interesting to see how he makes it out of that.
Or if he even can. Yeah, Owen very much needs to start finding Reflector Mages to be in this game.
Well, what he can do if he gets enough creatures on the board is in 1 turn, he could Faithful the Anafenza, sack his team, rally his team, and then get some sort of combo kill. But it's just going to be hard. Oh, Anthony, no attacks the turn, just plays Siege Rhino. Anthony's up to 21, Owen's at 7.
Yeah, and if Anthony can find that 5th land and just attack with anything and Wingmate Rock on the following turn, then Owen just does not have very much time at all.
Well, how about this? Owen's draw for the turn is Reflector Mage. It's the card you're saying he needed. It's a great answer to Anafenza.
Yep, that's a huge pickup.
And it's going to be the play. There goes the foremost. So Owen's creatures once again can enter the graveyard.
There's some incentive to play the Sidisi's Faithful on this turn when it will go to the graveyard as well.
Yeah, well, he can wait until next turn on it.
Right, you won't be able to see any Anafenzas on the following turn. Though you have that 2 mana on the table. Not doing anything with it would not be the best. Option to sacrifice the Scion and cast another Nantuko Husk, which is reasonable as well.
Owen will sack a Scion to scry. Has 1 colorless floating. Now here's 3 mana. It's a 2nd Nantuko Husk.
Yeah, and making use of all of the mana and using the Scion to scry with the Sifter, that's a pretty good return.
Here's the pass back. Owen trying to thread the needle here at 7 life. He'd be happy to block one of Anthony's creatures this turn. And if Anthony swung a Rhino, I think Owen would just make a 6/6 Husk.
Yeah.
And he gets his creatures in the graveyard. That's where he wants them anyway.
Right, Owen's on 7, so he can't just take a bunch of damage in combat, and also he has access to Rally the Ancestors in hand. This is the window to get creatures in the graveyard.
Now keep in mind that Owen only has 1 white mana source in play right now. So the Rally the Ancestors, while it is probably his game plan, is not castable at the moment.
Yeah, he does need to peel. But if he doesn't, he just doesn't have any other lines. He has a card he can't cast and a Sidisi's Faithful.
Just don't really see him winning without the Rally.
Yeah, that Nantuko Husk is not, it's good. It just won't be able to break through this board for 21 damage.
So here's Warden of the First Tree. Well, if that doesn't sound like Wingmate Rock, I don't. What a strange attack you're making. And Owen, he's paying it respect. He'll put everyone in front of it.
Well, you could say he's paying it respect, or he's just blocking because it doesn't matter how many creatures he throws in front of it.
So here's Wingmate Rock with the 3/4 token.
And then just with those birds, there's a lot of cards in Anthony's deck that combine to make the next turn lethal. And, you know, even if Owen finds that white source, he won't be able to assemble a lethal turn on this turn. He can deal with the birds, but only temporarily.
So on upkeep, Owen's going to sack a Reflector Mage to pump a Nantuko Husk. He wants the Scry here. That card will go to the bottom. We'll see if he makes another sack.
Desperately needs to find an untapped white source.
He's got to know there's a possibility that he's just dead on this next turn. He's taking 6 in the air. He does have a Sidisi's Faithful to bounce the bird token. So I would guess that Owen can spin wheels for one more turn.
Right. It's certainly possible. I want to go for Rally on this turn, especially now that we've already sacrificed one of our creatures.
Yeah, 2 of them. He sacks a Husk during upkeep to scry again. Now he'll take his draw. It looks to be an Evolving Wilds. Now, Owen's deck only has 1 basic Plains in it, so while that is frequently a good mana fixer, it cannot find a second white.
Right, it brings a land into play tapped, and it can't even find a Plains. And actually, with 4 basics in play, it can't even find a land.
Oh, wow. So that draw doing no help to Owen.
So on this turn, it seems like you have to play Faithful and return and just destroy that rock token on Anthony's side. Siege Rhino is a 4-power trampled attacker, and any removal spell on top of that attack can make this attack lethal very easily. And the Advocate just gets to attack for free on top of that.
And you're not so much concerned about the Anafenza Anthony could recast, because when you rally, if you draw the white source, when you rally, you'll get to have a Reflector Mage.
Right.
So Owen can't actually go to 1 in the air, because if he does, the white source he needs to peel for a fetch land would put him to 0.
Yeah, he would have to find Prairie Stream or Canopy Vista.
Yeah, naturally, as opposed to finding a fetch land for them.
Right. Significantly hurts his odds.
Well, here's the 6/6 Nantuko Husk. Remember, he sacrificed 2 creatures during upkeep. He'll attack with it. I would be shocked if Anthony even blocks.
I wouldn't even think about blocking if I'm Anthony. I'm at 21.
What I like, so let's try to point out what Owen's doing here, is that he's playing to a very long out here. You might ask, why is he attacking? Anthony's not going to block. So Owen is trying to peel a white source and combo kill next turn. It's really unlikely. But in the case that it does, Owen may not have a full 21-point combo. So he's trying to get Anthony within chip shot range of a possible Zulaport Cutthroat kill.
There is that, and also, you know, if he gets really lucky, Anthony just makes a bad block on the Husk. Gets some of this damage that's going to kill him on the following turn off the table.
So Catacomb Sifter is going to be exploited to Sidisi's Faithful. It's actually going to bounce the Sylvan Advocate.
What I like about the way that Owen navigated this turn is it heavily suggests to Eason that he has a Collected Company in hand. Has left up mana for that spell and made an aggressive attack. Eason's not buying it, though.
Yeah, so here's a block with Sidisi's Faithful. I mean, all right, Owen goes down to 1, and there's a Siege Rhino. And none of these lines are beating a Rhino out of Anthony's hand.
No. Anthony also just had the Murderous Cut to deal lethal in combat.
Geez.
Just
okay.
had multiple ways to wrap that game up. So Owen navigated it the best he could, but he just didn't have any winning lines.
So game 1 goes over to Anthony Eason playing, you know, your classical Obs on aggro. No, I don't. Yeah. No cards? No, 1 card out of Oath of the Gatewatch. He's put a Kalitas. I guess put Sylvan Advocates in his deck.
Yeah,
but no Reflector Mages. That's big. That's big.
Sylvan Advocate's a significant upgrade.
All right, we'll look at the sideboard. Let's start at Owen Turtenwald's side. Now, he, for this tournament, has packed 3 Murderous Cut, 3 Dispel, 2 Minister of Plane, 2 Arishan Cleric, 2 Duress, a Merciless Executioner, a Fleshbag Marauder, and a Despise. Now, typically, the cards you want for this matchup are the Cuts, the Executioners, and the Marauders.
Right, and those all seem great. Those are definitely coming in here. Could see him get fancy with Despise, though that's mostly for the ramp deck. A lot of just Anthony's deck has so many creatures. Duress, you know, for an Abzan deck, not a lot of spells to hit with that one, so I'm not very excited about that. Mostly it's just going to be that creature removal package.
Now, going over to Eason's side, we'll look at his sideboard. Duress, Gideon, Transgress, Ruinous Path, Hallowed Moonlight, Obzon Charm, Self-Inflicted Wound, Silk Wrap, and Kalidas, Trader of Get.
Kalidas definitely comes in, supplements the Anafenzas. Hallowed Moonlight, of course, is for this matchup pretty much exactly. And I also like Transgress the Mind quite a bit. It can't hit Rally, but the creature it hits is exiled, so that can't be rallied back. Or if you find Collected Company, that's fantastic.
Can't tell you how happy I am to transgress away a Reflector Mage. Not only does it mean he won't be bouncing my creatures, but it means he won't be rallying the stupid thing back.
Right, especially if you're turn 2 Transgress, turn 3 Anafenza. That'll often be too much.
Love it. Yeah, he does have some good weapons here, especially with the Kalidas, the Moonlight. I mean, the Moonlights, of course, are for this matchup.
Right.
Now, if Owen suspects that Anthony's on Hallowed Moonlight, can he reasonably play any Dispels here?
You can reasonably play 1 or 2 copies. There's going to be games where you draw them and they just do nothing. What matters more than anything is the creatures, but having a good mix, it's wise.
All right. Players getting ready here for game 2. Now, this is our last event before rotation into Shadows over Innistrad. And once we do, you're going to want to join us at the State and Provincial Championships from Star City Games. This is April 23rd and 24th. It's the same weekend that the pros will be showcasing their top decks at the Pro Tour with the new format. You should showcase your own decks. This will be standard and modern. It is a 2-day event, so 62 locations all across the US, Canada, and in Puerto Rico. So on Saturday, you get to play standard. This is an exclusive metal playmat and top 8 pin. Now you'll get the playmat, the past city playmat for top 8ing the standard top 8. Whereas on Sunday for modern, you get the future city playmat for top 8ing as well. So both of these are being given away, and this is kind of nice. You know, we have our old ones in standard. We have a modern playmat. Also, you get and the winner of the state championships will receive an invitation to the Star City Games Invitational, along with the championship medal. If you are not top 8ing but still want some of this exclusive art prints will be available just for registering while supplies last. Lastly, we have oversized tokens as door prizes. So we have prints of your individual state as a door prize, customized for each event. You're going to want to get this and more. So find out more about it, starcitygames.com/states.
A lot of cool swag there. Also, you know, new standard and as well as new modern. You have to imagine that modern will look significantly different after the ban and restricted list update.
I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, I don't think Mox Opal's that good. Come on now.
You know, I wouldn't be against the Mox Opal banning.
I
understand that you're speaking. I understand that you're speaking tongue in cheek, but
it's a very good card. I would be surprised if we ban. We know so little about Modern without Splinter Twin in it.
Right. And
because they banned a flagship card of the format, and we have no idea what the effect was.
Yeah, it happened simultaneously with the unveiling of a monster.
Right. So I think the wise choice here is to, okay, fix the problem, let Modern happen,
right.
Then have a discussion afterward.
Unban Summer Bloom.
That would not help. I've heard plenty of people be like, man, Matthias, I bet you wish Summer Bloom was around. You'd teach those Eldrazi decks what's up. But no, we wouldn't. We would lose horribly.
I hear a lot of people, there are some tournaments being held that are no ban list modern, which is
Eldrazi's
cool,
still playable.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, first of all. And that's a cool thought exercise, but it's unsustainable as a Pro Tour format. You just can't have that be the thing.
Oh, no, I mean, yeah, I've seen some of these no ban list modern tournaments. I mean, there's some real red flag stuff going on in them. Hypergenesis is very good in that format.
You only get the people to play these events that will play any tournament or are super cutthroat.
All right, we are underway. Game number 2. Owen's on the play. He's on a 6-card hand. He did have to mulligan. See a bevy of 2-drops here for him. He's going to have Elvish Visionary alongside Jace and Catacomb Sifter.
It's a good start.
Interesting to see how he sequences his lands on it.
Yeah, these 4-color mana bases, you know, nothing is a given. We did see him have 6 lands at the end of last game and wasn't able to cobble together double white.
Anthony will start off the game on his side. A long deliberation on his mana. With these 3-color decks, you do have to be careful. It looks like he has Warden of the First Tree in his hand, but if he fetches for a basic forest for Warden, he could pay for it down the road, and he's choosing the conservative line.
And I think he has a 2-land hand here, so he just wants to be able to find all of his colors.
Yeah, if he searches for basic forest, there's a chance he doesn't have white mana.
Right.
I don't think we can let that happen.
Yeah, for as good as this matchup could potentially be, he has a lot of hateful cards, but if his mana doesn't line up properly, you're not playing Magic.
First play on Owen's side is that turn 2 Jace. We'll see if Anthony has a Silk Wrap for it. Only 2 copies in the main, a third out of the board.
Silkcraft would be very good. We're a couple turns off of being able to have a creature and Dromoka's commanding away the Jace.
All right, so a pickup for Anthony is a copy of Llanowar Wastes. So the mana is now online. You see a lot of good plays here. It looks like Sylvan Advocate, Anafenza, Rhino, Kalitas, and he may be able to play them all on curve.
Yeah, this is excellent.
So we'll start with the Advocate. He'll pass. Now the danger is that Owen has an uncontested Jace, which, if it can loot him into some Reflector Mages, that'll break any creature curve apart.
The looting helps. The real breaker would be if Owen can find a Collected Company and be able to cast that twice because of the Jace.
For sure. Here's Catacomb Sifter for Owen. That will stop the attacks from Sylvan Advocate.
So Eason has picked up a second Flooded Strand, and he does have 2 copies of Basic Plains in the deck. So he could reasonably curve out finding that, though it's a rather awkward mana base. The Basic Plains on this turn is kind of a given.
Yes, so he's getting his third basic land on his third land that's untapped. Anthony's deck's brutally efficient here, but does not have a wide decision tree. He's more or less priced into just jamming creatures.
Right.
So here's Anafenza. Anthony takes the damage. Owen will keep looting. Finds Nantuko Husk. So hasn't found his Reflect. I think, right, the cards he's looking for are Reflector Mage and Collected Company. Those are the big payoffs.
Right. At this stage in the game, that's just what he's looking for.
There is a Hallowed Moonlight in Anthony's hand. However, out of Abzan aggro, leaving up 2 mana for Moonlight is a huge cost.
Right. And he did pick up his 4th land, but he's going to be using 3 or 4 mana on many of his turns.
Looks like he picks up an Evolving Wilds for the turn. Not going to do that one just yet. Another fetch here for Owen.
And the fetch here puts him at 4 cards in the graveyard, so an activation of Jace here will be able to flip it and get it out of the ability for a removal spell to kill it.
Yeah, once it's a Planeswalker, Anthony's deck does not have many ways to kill it. There are 2 Ruinous Paths in the sideboard, though I doubt they're in the deck right now.
That's not a spectacular card against the Rally deck.
So a fetch, now a loot from Jace, and of course we had Collected Company the whole time.
Found Collected Company, and also having the Planeswalker here stems Eason's aggro significantly.
Make your way to the side event registration area. Your event is ready to begin.
That pickup of Company off the loot is just really powerful here. And Owen with the main phase Collected Company, he is paying respect to Hallowed Moonlight.
Yep, I like that play quite a lot.
6 cards. The things he can get are Jace and Sifter. They'll both be into play.
You'd like a little more diversity, but finding 2 creatures that are very good is certainly a strong find.
Yeah, I believe his options were Jace, Jace, Sifter, so we could go double Jace, I suppose, but this is the line. Now back to Anthony Eason, and this is where things get dicey, right? Anthony on curve has had some very good creatures here, and the board looks miserable for him. Here's Warden of the First Tree. He'll pass, leaving up Hallowed Moonlight.
Yep. Owen has a ton of toughness on his side of the board, a reasonable amount of power, and that Jace to shrink Eason's team. And Eason has now left up 2 mana, so Owen has to think about the potential Hallowed Moonlight out of Eason's hand. And the thing about the Collected Company being in the graveyard in Jace is you can't just target the Collected Company and wait for Eason to activate the Warden at the end step, because he just wouldn't do it.
Elvish Visionary will start for Owen. And I like the patience here to not try to flashback Collected Company into this open mana. He really just doesn't need to.
Yeah, Eason is very far from breaking through on the ground here, so Owen has plenty of time.
He'll fetch Windswept Heath into Canopy Vista. Only solidifying his mana base here. Single black is the only thing he's limited on at this point.
Yep, so he won't be able to cast 2 black spells in a turn, but all of his black spells are single black.
Looks like he has Fleshbag Marauder.
Plenty of 1/1 creatures to sacrifice, and he'll get something reasonable off of Eason's board as well.
Sure, Owen will get rid of a Scion. He gets to scry one twice off the Sifters.
And while Eason has some very good disruptive elements to stop Owen from setting up in terms of comboing with Rally, he doesn't have haymakers to break open a board like this. You know, he's not a red deck, doesn't have access to anything like Radiant Flames, no access to something like Languish. He just has to try to deal with these things on a 1-for-1 basis and break through with his creatures.
Jace will plus to shrink the Sylvan Advocate to a 0/3.
He can throw away one of his creatures to potentially have a Wingmate Rock down the road, but you know, even that, Owen has plenty of outs to dealing with the birds. There is a rock in hand, so I think that's what you have to go for. You're either winning this game in the air or you're dying on the ground.
Go back over to Anthony's side. You see Wingmate Rock in his hand. It's possible that taking to the skies is his answer. I mean, it may not work.
Yeah.
And he can't leave up Hallowed Moonlight while doing it.
Right. You know, he has the Hallowed Moonlight in hand, but he's just losing a fair game of Magic right now.
Right.
If he doesn't go for the Wingmate Rock, he's just not doing anything. Another concern for Eason has to be the round timer is over half up.
And this is just the interesting part, right? Eason has uncontested all of his hate cards. He's got Anafenza in play, he's got Moonlight in hand, and then this is just comically bad. Oh, and gang blocks on the Sylvan Advocate. And Wingmate Rock will be the play for Eason, making a 3/4. Shields are down. Now it's Owen's turn. If he can Eason end this turn with any of his creatures in play, I'm not even sure.
Yeah, there's a reasonable chance he escapes this turn with life points, but not much of a board position. You know, now he has the Moonlight down. Owen is able to use the Jace to cast the Collected Company in the graveyard, assuming he doesn't just have great things to do with his hand.
He drew a Reflector Mage for a turn. That's pretty great. But I also like Collected Company.
Yeah.
We'll see how he chooses to close out.
I have a feeling you want a company here. You'll be able to do the Reflector Mage next turn no matter what.
Oh, Owen's going to cast. He'll go the other route, though. Reflector Mage will bounce Anafenza. Scion will sacrifice to Scry.
Really thinking hard about this card.
Owen draws the turn. He's not worried he scries the bottom for the first one and the second. He doesn't seem to be worried at all about these Wingmate Rocks.
Yeah, he's got a ton of life points, and here's the reason we see the Reflector Mage that turn is he had the Nantuko Husk naturally in hand. So he has an avenue to just winning this game, and having a sacrifice outlet and being able to scry with the Sifters is huge.
Yeah, he just plays out his hand. I mean, I guess if Anthony wants to remove blockers for Owen, Owen's going to let him do it.
Right. So bouncing Anafenza stops Eason from casting that spell this turn. He does have access to a Kalitas.
All right, so that is the way to get around Reflector Mage if you want one of those effects in place, just have Kalitas trade spots.
The tap land keeps him off of Hallowed Moonlight on this turn as well,
that's
though.
Big.
That hurts.
So Kalitas is the play. Now Owen's going to respond to the Kalitas by sacrificing Visionary to scry twice. Doesn't even need to scry twice. He found the card he wants.
This is a bad sign for Eason.
We'll see just how much Owen sacrifices. If that top card is a rally, we might see Owen ship most of his board here. No attacks from Anthony. We go back to Turtenwald.
Could have just kept something like a Murderous Cut or a Reflector Mage to deal with the Kalitas.
I think we're looking at Murderous Cut. Now, Owen only has single black, so he can't play and flash it back. However, casting it will be very good here.
Right, and really he just wants to cast it this turn on Kalitas and next turn on Anafenza. He doesn't care about these rocks really at all.
Good catch here by Owen. He could pay 5 for Murderous Cut. I think instead his plan was to delve it and then cast Collected Company, then decided, well, maybe I should just start on the Collected Company. That'll help me make a better decision with this Murderous Cut.
Gives you better information. If you find a Reflector Mage, you can just bounce the Kalitas, and then you don't even have to Murderous Cut it.
So actually, Owen has been remarkably, his Collected Companies have not hit very well this match, but Eiley plus Catacomb Sifter should do the trick nonetheless.
Yeah, they've been suboptimal, but they appear to be more than good enough.
Here's Murderous Cut on Kalitas. I mean, we could just go easy mode. If he hits 2 Reflector Mages there, then we can just go to game 3.
Yeah, I think that Owen won't have too much difficulty navigating on hard mode, though.
Is it the 7 creatures in play? That's 8, 9, I don't know.
No attacks with Jace, so holding back a little bit.
All right, yeah, 9 creatures in play, correction. Both the Wingmate Rocks are 3/4s.
Right, Jace wasn't able to bubble anything because the Collected Company was flashback this turn.
So Token will block Husk, Wingmate Rock will block Sifter. 3 creatures will get through. Now we'll see Nantuko Husk start to sacrifice things. Probably just the blocked Sifter.
Right. At this stage in the game, it's a very small margin, but we see the Token jump in front of the Husk, the creature that could actually kill it. You know, this way you don't just get your 3/4 bounced and you can never play it again, though. Owen should be winning this game in relatively short order.
Yeah, we will see what Anthony wants to block. He's still debating. Okay, looks like Rock will be on Reflector Mage. Now, the issue here is that with each of these sacrifices, Owen is scrying 1 3 times.
Or just finding the card he wants right away.
Black was on Fleshbag. Fleshbag was sacked. Now we're back to Eason. Silk Wrap, the draw.
That one would have been really good.
Turn 2? On
Yeah,
the chase?
yeah. It's far too little at this stage in the game. If Silk Wrap had Overload on the lines of Mizium Mortars,
well,
that'd
it'd
be...
have to be red or blue because the Izzet don't make white cards.
Oh, that's why the enchantment doesn't have Overload?
That's why the enchantment doesn't have Overload.
Okay.
If it was Quarantine Field and he had a lot more lands. Are we there yet?
Well, we're still facing down an Nantuko Husk.
We'll get there. We'll find out. We'll find out a way to do it. A split-second Hallowed Burial. That would do it. That card would be very good.
They don't print them like
They
that.
don't make cards. They don't make cards that do that. So it's going to be Hallowed Moonlight into Silk Wrap for Husk, into Sylvan Advocate, a pass. I think he's dead. Murderous Cut on yeah, Owen just going to do it the easy way. Flashes back Murderous Cut, kills the Wingmate Rock, swings the team. That's 9 damage. Easily done.
Uses the resources already on board. Had a card he kept on top with Scrying, and now we don't get to know what it is.
So this is something you hear a lot of players, especially Rally veterans, talk about the deck, is that the Rally the Ancestors part of the deck is actually the biggest liability, and frequently they just want to play like a Collected Company, Obzon style deck. Actually on camera yesterday we saw just Obzon Company as a deck on camera. Standard, you know, no frills, no rallies, and that Owen looked a lot like that deck right now.
Right, and another thing we saw on camera yesterday was a player just draw too many copies of Rally the Ancestors. Until you have your setup, the card just kind of does nothing. Having 2 copies in your hand can be a liability more than anything. And Owen was looking over his deck. It's unclear if he still has all 4 copies of Rally hanging out in the deck.
Yeah, 16 minutes remain in the round here between Owen Turtenwald and Anthony Eason. Owen has evened it up at 1 game apiece. Game 1, we saw Anthony get a aggressive draw, curving out on the play. Owen was not able to stabilize in time. Game 2, Anthony actually had a great draw again, but just wasn't even close. Owen was able to dismantle it.
A lot of it came down to the uncontested Jace and the timely Collected Company.
And that's the hard part, because when you're Obs on aggro, you want to have this removal spell for a turn 2 Jace, but it's so hard to fit that into the deck.
Right, it's mostly Silk Wrap, and when you're on the draw, can't Dromoka's command it.
All right. Talked about the Shadows Over Innistrad pre-release that's happening the weekend of States. If you want to get your cards for States, you can pre-order them at StarCityGames.com. Pre-orders are available today. You can go over to the website. We have all the products that you would expect to have at pre-release. Booster boxes, fat packs, booster cases. Complete sets are actually for sale, as well as intro packs and bundles. Remember, you can order now at StarCityGames.com/SOI. Remember, they will not ship until April 8th when the set is officially released.
Yep, pre-order not the same as pre-release. Gotta wait like everybody else.
I do like the idea to pre-order complete sets for people who want to have their standard decks ready for that States weekend. It's a great way to ensure that it'll happen.
Yeah. Also, if you just have a complete set, it's a great way to build something like a sealed deck simulator.
Yeah, our back when there were a lot of sealed PTQs, that was something that our team would build just about every season.
Great way to get out of the competition.
All right, underway for Game 3. Eason back on the play. We've seen him be dangerous there. We'll see if he can do it again. Starts with Shambling Vent. And his hand appears to be Anafenza Rhino. It's slow, but very powerful.
Slow and light on mana at this point, it looks like. But Peel the Plains on this turn, and that should make things a lot easier for Eason.
Yeah, this Wooded Foothills is going to find the green source he needs. We'll see if it's a basic or a dual. He'll get basic Forest. Does he have a play? Appears no. Going to pass back to Owen. Actually, yes, Sylvan Advocate. That makes that curve of Anafenza into Rhino much more enticing.
Significantly stronger than no plays.
I almost feel like on the Obzon side, Anthony's got to have a 2-drop each game.
Yeah, you just have to get on the board. If you're not getting ahead on the ground immediately, you fall behind in a big way, as we saw happen in Game 2.
Speaking of falling behind, Owen's turn 2 play is an Evolving Wilds. That's not going to help him much, and now Advocate crashes in for 2. Owen down to 18. Eason fouls up with Anafenza, and he may just be able to keep the pressure on. He picked up a Dromoka's command last turn.
Yeah, that's huge. I was thinking that Owen, what he really wants is a turn 2 Jace, but with Eason having that Dromoka's command, that's not going to matter.
Yeah, I believe what we're looking at, Rhino, Dromoka's command, and then a white card for Anthony. It's not the land he needs. I mean, if he can find that untapped land next turn, there is no question as to how fast the start will be.
Yeah, he'll be able to get ahead on board in a big way.
Back over to Turtenwald. He does not have a turn 2 Jace this time. Does appear to have a Fleshbag Marauder in hand and Merciless Executioner, so he can pick which one he wants to play. If Anthony does not keep making a creature every turn, Owen will answer all these cards. That's a big if, though. And Owen's going to Duress. We find Wingmate Rock alongside the Rhino, so Dromoka's command's taken. So Rhino, Rock. If Anthony's top 2 cards are untapped lands, this is nightmare for Owen.
Yeah, if Owen were clairvoyant and he knew that no land were coming off the top for Eason, he could have curved those Fleshbag Marauder effects and taken care of Eason's board.
Yeah, Owen not having any of that. Here's the thing by Anthony. No, Advocate does not tap, so it does not get a counter.
Important distinction.
Will Owen take it all? I think he does. He's going to go to 12. Now, Anthony's draw was not the land. It was a Den Protector. So it's a creature. It's not terrible. It gives him insurance against Fleshbag Marauders.
It also gives him access to that fetch land in his graveyard.
Yeah, if things get really dicey, he might make that play. I would not be surprised if Owen plays a Fleshbag that Anthony would sacrifice the Advocate. Flipped Den Protector actually has evasion.
Right, and you're very far away from making that Advocate more than a 2-3. And as we know about the Rally deck, it's chock full of its own 2-3s. So breaking through the Advocate is quite difficult.
Here's a fetch from Owen down to 11. He needs to stabilize, and he knows that if he gets too low, there are 6 points of burn in Eason's hand and those 2 Siege Rhinos. So this is crisis time for Owen.
Yeah, already down to 11.
Right, and if you think about him being at 5, it's okay. You know, you can't really take... The worry would be, if Anthony flips Den Protector, attacks with Anafenza, puts a counter on Den Protector, Owen can't block it.
Also, Reflector Mage on Den Protector, not the greatest tempo swing.
No, you can replay the creature the very next turn as a morph.
You can replay the creature, and then the Den Protector can go find another card from the graveyard.
So Owen has a lot of things available. It looks like he's eyeing Catacomb Sifter and Collected Company. He'll go with the Sifter. It's going to make a Scion. 2 mana available. Now we're back to Eason. Does he hit the land this turn? He does, and it's untapped.
That's a huge draw. This is much better than using the Den Protector to get that fetch land back.
Wow, okay. Well, he could get back the Dramoka's command. Wait, does he have? He does have double green now. So he could flip. This is huge.
Yeah, you could do some fighting.
Flip, fight, get your land. The Den Protector would not be able to be blocked. It'd be a 4 power.
Yeah, if you leave that Den Protector face down, it's not connecting this turn. So that flip lets him connect for a lot of damage on this turn, and then you still have those 2 Rhino triggers coming up. I think I like that line quite a lot.
It's hard to say no to 4 mana plus Siege Rhino, but Anthony might do just that. And I don't think he will. Looks like he's going to go the other route. He's going to go just to jam Rhinos here. He's going to attack and flip Den Protector immediately. And it looks like he's going to flip the Den Protector, but he's going to get the fetch land off it.
Yeah, so the Dramoka's command there's really nothing very exciting to kill on this board just yet, and he does have Wingmate Rock in hand, so that 5th land does end up mattering.
Yeah, I guess your choice is you could either have Wingmate Rock for sure, or you could just play the Dramoka's command here to do something. I kind of liked the line of play the land, flip, get Dramoka's command, have Advocate fight down the Catacomb Sifter. Owen will put all the creatures in front of Anafenza. He will take damage off the Den Protector, drop to 7. Anthony, 6 points of burn in hand.
Eason makes an interesting decision to deal with the Eldrazi Scion instead of exiling the Visionary on ordering blockers. That's going to stunt Owen on mana the next turn.
I love it. Exiling the Visionary plays well against late game rallies, but I just feel like we're so far away from that.
Right.
So here's Merciless Executioner for Owen. Both the elves will die here. Den Protector, though. Owen knows about the 2 Rhinos.
Yeah, and so Owen has that other Fleshbag Marauder effect in hand, and if he still had that Scion, he'd have been able to cast it this turn and deal with the Den Protector.
Really good play here by Anthony, just recognizing that the creature wasn't the important part, it was Owen's mana he had to attack.
Right, and so Eason still has those 2 Siege Rhinos, and then this turn he can attack and play Rhino, and that's lethal.
Yeah, Owen will need something like Murderous Cut in his hand to take care of Den Protector. Or, I suppose, Zulaport Cutthroats and quickly. He needs a life gain source. Here's Murderous Cut, takes care of Den Protector. Okay, Owen gets to still be alive. He was in danger of taking 4 and getting Rhino there and just having the game be over.
Right.
He makes that play before attacks to cut Anthony off of Wingmate Rock. He knows Anthony has it. Here's Rhino, Owen goes to 4.
So this turn won't be quite Wingmate Rock, but he did pick up a 1-mana spell to cast.
Beautiful. Warden of the First rejoins Siege Rhino. It gives Anthony some really necessary insulation against that Fleshbag Marauder.
Right. And this might be the turn where Owen has to pull the trigger on that Collected Company. I mean, the Rhino plus the Warden, just have him dead on board. He has to get something going.
Yeah, if it wasn't for that Warden, Owen may have been able to stabilize here.
Right.
But now he's hoping, and it's a big hope. The problem is, what's he companying into? You're hoping Reflector Mage? Because then you're putting another Rhino in Anthony's hands.
Right, but he already has the backup Rhino, and he wouldn't be able to cast either on the following turn.
So it's a start, but oof.
And so if we collect the company into Reflector Mage now on Eason's turn, the risk is you're potentially playing into a Hollowed Moonlight, but if you're able to Reflector Mage the Rhino this turn, it'll be until another turn cycle for the Rhinos to come down.
Here's the Collected Company. Here's the top 6. And Owen's companies have just been underwhelming all match, and this is no different.
That's not the find that we needed.
No. I mean, the trample on the Rhino plus the Rhino in Anthony's hand should end the game here.
Right.
Rhino tramples for 2, another Rhino, and that is game and match. Anthony Eason with Obs on aggro defeating Owen Turtenwald.
Earlier we were talking about Siege Rhino going out with the Whimper. Eason looking to make that a bang as he advances to 11-1 and will be the #1 player in the tournament after this round.
Yeah, that should put him to first place in the standings. We are thinking a 12th win is what will lock you for the top 8. Anthony gets 3 chances to get that win.